It was a cold evening in Paris. In a tall building made of glass and steel, some powerful men gathered in a secret meeting room. The room was quiet, but there was fire in their hearts. They were angry. They felt like they were losing something very big. One of the men stood up. He had grey hair, a sharp face, and a heavy voice. He said, "This young African soldier is destroying all our work in Burkina Faso. He is removing our troops. He is kicking out our companies. He is waking up the people. He is talking about African freedom. This is dangerous for us." Another man in a suit asked, "Do you mean Captain Ibrahim Traoré?" "Yes," the first man replied. "He is becoming too powerful. The people love him. They believe in him. That is the problem." The room went quiet. Then a third man said, "Should we try to talk to him? Maybe offer him money? Power? A deal?" The leader shook his head slowly. "We tried. He refuses bribes. He doesn't fear threats. He doesn't listen to Paris. This man is not for sale. He must be removed." A fourth man looked around and asked the question everyone feared to say out loud. "Are you saying we should kill him?" The leader paused. Then he spoke slowly and clearly. "Yes. We need someone to end his life. Quietly, quickly, and with no proof." They all nodded. No one smiled. No one cheered. But they all agreed. This was how power worked in the shadows. When they could not control a man, they tried to silence him forever. They picked one of their best agents. A man who had no face, no name in the public. He was known only by his code name, Paul. He had worked in Africa before. He had caused wars, removed leaders, and disappeared many times without leaving a trace. He never failed. Paul entered the room. He wore a black coat. He said nothing. He listened. The leader looked at him and said, "Your mission is simple. Go to Burkina Faso. Find Traoré. And kill him. Make it look like an accident. No noise. No mess." Paul nodded once. That was enough. They handed him a small black bag. Inside was a gun with a silencer, a fake passport with a new identity, and a large amount of money in different currencies. They gave him the name of a hotel in Ouagadougou. Everything was planned. Every move was ready. Before leaving the room, the leader said one last thing. "This is not just about one man. This is about our power in Africa. If Traoré is not stopped, others will follow him. Mali, Niger, Guinea, even Congo. He is the match. We must blow it out." Paul said only 3 words, "It will burn." He left the room. That same night, he got on a private flight to Africa. In Burkina Faso, the people were full of hope. Since Ibrahim Traoré came to power, things had started to change. He removed the French troops who stayed for years but did not bring peace. He told the truth about how Africa was being robbed. He visited villages, spoke to farmers, and stood with his soldiers in the rain and sun. People called him the Lion of the Sahel. But he was also surrounded by danger. He knew that powerful people were not happy. He knew that the enemies were not only outside the country, but also hiding inside. While the people cheered for him, one man, Paul, was landing in his country with a gun, a mission, and a cold heart. Paul walked out of the airport like any traveler. No one noticed him. He was calm. He smiled when needed. He had done this before. He looked at the sky and thought, "This will be over in 1 week. I will end the man and return to silence." But what Paul didn't know was this: he had come to kill a man, but the truth in that man was going to kill the lie in him. This mission would not go the way he expected. Paul had now arrived in Ouagadougou, the capital city of Burkina Faso. The sun was hot, the streets were busy, and the air was full of dust and noise. But Paul wasn't here to enjoy the city. He had come with a dark mission, to kill Ibrahim Traoré. He checked into a quiet hotel under a fake name. He spoke French like a local, wore simple clothes, and pretended to be a businessman. He smiled at the hotel staff and gave tips, but deep inside, he was cold and focused. He had done this many times. He knew how to act. He knew how to blend in. For the first few days, Paul moved carefully. He watched the news. He followed every report about Traoré. He asked a few questions at cafes and bars. People were talking about their president. Some loved him. Some feared for his life. But one thing was clear: he was popular. Very popular. Paul started following Traoré's schedule through local sources. He paid a few people for information, nothing new for him. That's how he learned Traoré would speak at a youth event in the city. It was a gathering for students and young farmers. This will be my first time seeing him in person, Paul said to himself. Let's see the man I've come to remove. That morning, Paul wore dark sunglasses and sat at the back of the crowd. He stayed quiet. No one paid attention to him. His eyes were fixed on the stage. Then Traoré arrived. He wasn't in a big fancy car. He wasn't surrounded by rich men. He came in a regular military truck with a few young soldiers. He wore his army uniform. His boots were dusty. He walked with confidence, but without pride. When he stood on the stage, people clapped and shouted his name. Ibrahim! Ibrahim!
Capitaine.
He raised his hand to calm the crowd. Then he spoke. My children, listen to me, he said. Africa is not poor. Africa is rich. But we have been lied to for many years. We were told to depend on others. We were told we can't lead ourselves. But that is a lie. The crowd stayed quiet. His voice was strong, but his words were simple. I am not your king. I am your servant. I did not come to steal from you. I came to fight for you. I may die tomorrow, but the truth will not die. The truth is this: we must stand up for ourselves. If we don't, we will always be slaves in our own land. The crowd exploded with joy. Paul sat there frozen. Something strange was happening inside him. This man was supposed to be his target. This was the man he came to kill. But what he saw was different. Traoré was not drunk with power. He was not hiding behind rich men. He was not using big words. He was speaking from his heart. After the event, Paul didn't go back to his hotel right away. He walked around the area slowly. He watched people smile and talk about the speech. He saw poor young men raise their heads with pride. He saw old women wipe tears from their eyes. That night, Paul couldn't sleep. He sat on his bed, staring at the ceiling. This is not what I expected, he whispered. In the next few days, Paul watched Traoré more closely, not with the eyes of a killer, but with the eyes of a man who was confused. He followed him to rural areas, where Traoré visited broken schools. He saw him sit on the ground with farmers. He saw him pray in the rain with his soldiers. He saw him hold a baby with dirty hands. No bodyguards pushed the people away. He didn't wear a bulletproof vest. He moved like a brother, not a boss. Paul kept thinking, is this the man I'm supposed to end? He opened the file the French officials had given him. It said Traoré was a threat to Europe. It said he was dangerous. But dangerous to who? Paul whispered to himself. Dangerous to people? Or dangerous to old powers? A storm began inside him. He started to feel something he hadn't felt in years: guilt. He looked at the gun hidden in his suitcase. He stared at it for a long time. Then he said something no agent is ever supposed to say. I don't think I can do this. It was a quiet night in Ouagadougou. The moon was full. The stars were bright. But Paul, the secret agent, felt no peace. He sat alone in his hotel room, the curtains drawn, the light off. In front of him was his suitcase. Inside the suitcase was a small black pistol with a silencer. The weapon was cold, deadly, and ready. Paul stared at it. He had done this before. Many times. In other countries. For other leaders. But this time was different. Something was heavy in his heart. Something was not right. He remembered Traoré's words at the youth event. He remembered the little girl who smiled when Traoré gave her school books. He remembered the old man in the village who said, "Since Traoré came, we sleep better at night." Paul had come to kill this man. That was his job. That was his mission. But now, his soul was fighting against it. For 3 days, he did nothing. He stayed in his room, thinking. He walked around the streets like a ghost, his mind full of questions. He sat in the back of churches. He watched children play in the dust. He saw poor people laughing together, cooking with firewood, sharing what little they had. And many of them had pictures of Ibrahim Traoré on their walls. He is one of us, they would say. He is not perfect, but he is ours. Paul had worked in Africa for a long time. He had seen fake leaders, men who took power and forgot the people. But Traoré was different. He didn't hide. He didn't run. He faced danger every day, but he walked among his people without fear. On the 4th night, Paul knew what he was supposed to do. His information was complete. The location was secure. A trusted insider had given him a time and a way to get into the outer part of Traoré's residence. It was now or never. Paul dressed in black. He put on gloves. He put the pistol in his coat. He stepped out of the hotel quietly. No one saw him. His steps were steady, but his heart was not. He took a car and moved slowly toward the government zone. The streets were almost empty. He turned down a side road. Then another. He reached the outer fence of the presidential quarters. The contact had left the side gate unlocked. Paul entered silently. He moved like a shadow. His face showed no emotion. But inside, his thoughts were loud. He reached the back of the house. There were 2 guards far away, looking in the opposite direction. He stepped forward, right under a tree. He was just a few steps from the door. He took out the pistol. He whispered to himself, "This is the moment." He moved his finger to the trigger. But then, a strong wind blew across the trees. The leaves rustled. The sound of an owl echoed nearby. It was as if the earth itself was telling him to stop. And then, Paul heard something in his own mind. A voice, not loud, but clear. "You came here to kill a man. But the man you came to kill woke up the man inside you." Paul froze. His hand shook. He thought about the mission. He thought about the people. He thought about truth. Then he dropped his arm to his side. The pistol was still in his hand, but it was useless now. Paul turned around and walked away from the house. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He walked out the same way he came in, leaving the gate open behind him. That night, he wrote a letter. He didn't type it. He used a pen and paper. It was simple, but honest. "I was sent to kill Ibrahim Traoré. But I found a man who believes in something real. He is not your enemy. He is Africa's hope. I will not do your dirty work. I quit. Paul." The next morning, Paul placed the letter inside a French safe house in the city. Then he took a taxi straight to the presidential compound. The guards stopped him. He said, "I must speak to the captain. Alone. I have something important to tell him. It's about his life." The guards were confused. But they saw he was serious. They called someone inside. Surprisingly, Traoré agreed. And just like that, the man who came to kill the captain was now walking into his presence, unarmed, full of guilt, but finally free. Paul stood at the entrance of the presidential building. The guards stared at him with suspicion. One of them asked, "Who are you?" Paul answered calmly, "I came to speak to the captain. I was sent to kill him. But I changed my heart. I need to see him. Please." The guards didn't understand. They looked at each other. Some laughed. One became angry. "You're crazy," one of them said. "I'm not," Paul replied. "Please. Just one meeting. That's all." A senior officer walked out from inside. Paul repeated the same words to him. The officer narrowed his eyes. Then he made a call. 20 minutes later, something shocking happened. Captain Ibrahim Traoré agreed to see Paul, alone. Paul was taken through long halls. No handcuffs. No questions. No weapons. Just silence. He entered the room. There, sitting behind a wooden desk with books and a map of Africa behind him, was the man Paul was supposed to kill, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Traoré didn't look afraid. He looked calm, but serious. He spoke first. "You say you came to kill me?" Paul nodded. "Yes, sir. I was sent by powerful men in France. They called me one of their best agents. They gave me money, a new name, a gun, and a plan. I came here to end your life. But I couldn't." Traoré leaned back. He didn't speak. He let Paul continue. "I followed you. I watched you speak. I saw how the people love you. I saw how you live, how you fight for the poor, how you face danger without fear. You're not like the men they told me about. You are not evil. You are not a puppet. You are something else. You are real." Paul paused. His voice began to shake. "I'm ashamed. I've done many things in Africa. I followed orders without asking questions. But your truth made me stop. I don't know why, but I couldn't kill you." Traoré sat quietly. Then he stood up. Slowly. Paul thought maybe it was over. Maybe the captain would arrest him now. Or worse. But something happened that Paul never expected. Traoré walked over and held out his hand. Paul froze. "Why?" he asked. Traoré replied, "Because even the man sent to destroy the truth can still become part of the truth. You chose to listen to your heart. That takes courage. And Africa needs men with courage, not just on the battlefield, but in the soul." Paul reached out and shook his hand. His eyes were full of tears. He said, "I'm sorry, sir." Traoré nodded. "I forgive you." Paul didn't ask for anything after that. He didn't beg for a job. He didn't run away. He just said, "Tell me what I can do now. Not to fix the past, but to help the future." Traoré smiled a little. "You can start by telling others what really happened here. Tell the truth, even if it hurts the powerful." And Paul did. He stayed in Burkina Faso. He didn't return to France. He started speaking with young men and women, telling them how he was once used like a tool, but found purpose in the light of truth. He gave up the spy life. He started working in security, but this time, to protect, not to kill. He helped train local guards to protect African leaders from foreign attacks. He used what he knew to stop other agents like himself. People began to call him the man who turned around. As for Ibrahim Traoré, he never spoke publicly about Paul. He never told the press. He never used the story to shame France. He simply moved on, leading with more wisdom, more care, and more silence. But those closest to him noticed something changed. He smiled a little more. He prayed a little longer. And once in a while, he would say, "Even the hand sent to kill you can become the hand that saves you, if you lead with truth, not fear." And that, my brothers and sisters, is a true lesson. A mission that began with death ended in life. A man paid to destroy ended up protecting. The world didn't believe it. But heaven did. Because when truth walks into the room, even a killer must kneel.